Welcome to Getchyapulls, number 81. It's Mooj,
It's Dan.
and you may think that we forgot about number 80, or that somehow you went through a wormhole and are listening to the Pod of the Future, but Dan's computer crashed, aka the Pod of Humor Studios, so we'll get it back, but number 80 is lost, and it's a big spoiler, somebody comes back in that one.
Yes. We had a 1 week return of a long time potty humor friend and co-host, and
I think you know it's Todd, because he's the only other person that's ever been on this pod.
that's right. And I think also that maybe Pultron had something to do with it, because he always seems to bring that fucking curse with him everywhere he goes. Is that the mysterious artificial intelligence known as Pultron causes my computer to crash? So.
Yeah, and it's funny, it usually happens when Todd's around. But anyways, he's not here this week because once you go back and listen to last week's, you'll find out that he didn't get his pulse for a while, and then was too ashamed to go back into our regular comic book store. But then he called you, gave you the big news, he went back and got his pulse.
That's right, he did.
So he's catching up. I'm sure he'll have an extended back to the long box. I'm going to guess Superior Spider-Man. I know it's a book he gets that we don't get. So there's a couple books he gets that we don't that I'm sure he'll catch you up on next week. He's spending this week reading his box of pulls. So,
and to his surprise and joy, Buddy at B&M Comics didn't even take his thumbs as collateral. So
yeah, Buddy's a great guy. That did make me think, too, what he was telling us last week about being ashamed to go in there. It's like, maybe, but I could never see Buddy even being mad. At worst, he would be like, I got rid of some of your books, sorry. And he'd be like, okay, that's fine, and back to normal. But I could never see Buddy shunning somebody for not getting their books, because he can get rid of them.
No, he's an understanding gentleman. So Todd,
yeah.
Todd, even though he broke the worst comic store etiquette possible,
yes,
he showed back up, and he got his pulls. What about you, audience?
Yeah, absolutely. But we got a lot of news this week. A lot of stuff. Some small news.
We didn't do an episode on Super Bowl week either, because we figured what was the fucking point.
Yeah, I was too busy crying about Peyton Manning putting together the worst game of his life. Actually, it reminded me of some of his big Tennessee games. Peyton Manning he's the best regular season player of all time, but sometimes in the playoffs he doesn't play well. And that's for this week in sports. But on to
this week in Moochie Dick Punches for 2014.
Yeah, hopefully that's the last one. Big break, Getchyapulls news. My car is running.
Uh-oh.
It didn't take all my money. It didn't take my income tax check. It's running. It seems to be running well. The defrost is back. The heat is back. It's not missing. So it seems as if my car is back on the road, so that's good. I got my income tax back quick. So I'm back to having money. No chance, unless another disaster strikes, of having to not get pulls like it was looking like. One of these dumb jobs that a place that in the future I'll wish to blow up, but in the meantime I'll love to pay me some money to work for them. Just call soon. Then 2014 will have been turned right around, because everything else has somehow worked itself out.
Outstanding.
Yeah, so the dick, it's healing. It's still a little purple.
A little tender.
You get dick punched like 30 times. It takes time for it to get back to its normal, but it should be back to its nice flesh color, whatever it is. You don't need to know. It'll be back to normal. But we'll talk about some news.
Okay.
That'll be it. If you'd like a better description of my dick, then I don't know where you go. But in the DC news, got a few things. Mike Martz, longtime Batman editor, he's gone. One of the sad losses for DC, which people kind of saw coming. When DC's moving to Los Angeles, they made everybody kind of declare the last couple months if they're going to be able to come or not. So, obviously they can look to, because they're going to have to replace everybody when they move out to the West Coast. And he's been the most successful in the last few years. He's been over the Batman line, and you can, Scott Snyder and Capullo and other guys regularly sing his praises as being, one of the best editors in comics. And unfortunately lost back over to Marvel, taken back over the X-Men, as it's been confirmed. He's going to be back over the X-Books, which some of the highest selling books over the past 10 years were when he was on the X-Books. He was the editor for X-Men when Whedon did his Astonishing X-Men run, when Grant Morrison did his new X-Men run. He was the guy in charge over there, so...
I don't know if he's in charge of any like talent recruiting or he just edits what they throw in front of him, but he always seems to have really top-notch creators underneath him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know Snyder, one of his big things, said the best part about it, we've heard all these people quitting, DC since the New 52 launch because there was so much interference and stuff, and, Snyder talked about how, he got little to no interference, and that's your editor, that's Marks, and same thing when Layman, said he was leaving DC, he said it wasn't because of any sort of editorial stuff at all, that Mike Marks was great to him, so it just kind of sucks that, one of the only people that had the reputation at DC kind of letting the people do what they want is gone. Hopefully they'll have a good replacement. They haven't announced any sort of replacement for him yet, but he basically moved on to take over the X-Men books, and the guy that was doing the X-Men books moved over to the Spider-Man books to replace Stephen Wacker, so that's, the X-Men books were already really good as of late, so now you've got that guy's over Spider-Man, so I mean, it's just, I think editors are important. I think probably having like the talent's the most important, but this move, I know it's supposed to benefit DC having everybody in Los Angeles, and who the fuck knows if they're not going to just, you're not going to find great writers and stuff who, because they're in the vicinity of the DC offices, are like, I'll do a run on a comic while I'm writing this movie because I got the time. It could end up paying big benefits in the long run, but in the short term, they've definitely lost some really talented people, so...
Yeah, I think that's a move that only really helps Marvel at this point.
Yeah.
They have a series of books that's already been strong that gets them even more focus and somebody really with a great track record behind them, and then...
DC really loves the Dio and Jim Lee and Jeff Johns. They put a lot of faith in them because if you do look, like almost all of the success that DC's had in the past 10 years or so, other than those guys, the majority of those people work elsewhere now. Karen Berger, who was the Vertigo person, had all those great relationships. All those people's gone, which is one of the reasons people have said that they're, doing Image books and not working there anymore. And then, and she's the ties to, Neil Gaiman and other really important people. And they've lost some arts, and they've lost some other people the past couple of years. So, a lot of people you'd identify as the DC people are now working for Marvel. But, anywho, hopefully that works out. Hopefully get somebody good in Batman. I doubt anybody could screw up Snyder. I doubt anything like that would happen because anybody who's on the fence or even defending, whatever DC, if they ran Snyder and Capullo out of town, then they would be in big trouble at this point. Well, let's see, on to movie/TV news. There's a shit ton of it. See a couple of small things first. Now it's Ben McKenzie has been tapped to play Gordon in Gotham, in the Young Gordon show. On screen, he's been in a few things.
Most recently, he was a real creep in Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, he's been in a few different things. I guess probably most famously, he was on the OC. That was a while ago, but that was his biggest role. He was the star of that show. It was successful.
Remember the old sitcom Grounded for Life? He was the dad.
Yeah, well, he's thinking of the right guy. Ben McKenzie's pretty young. He might be thinking of the wrong guy.
Maybe. I could have swore out there, no.
He's early 30s.
Okay, no.
He was the voice of, I think, Batman in... Maybe not Batman. Who was he?
See, I've heard conflicting reports. So you're talking about for the TV series.
The TV series, Young Gordon, who's going to be a guy in his 30s. Ben McKenzie, who's a guy in his 30s.
Okay, that's not what I heard. I heard the guy... oh God, he's a bit. I can't remember his fucking name, but he was the fucking the U.S. Marshal and Son.
Okay, I know who you're talking about. That's a different guy. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what he's been cast for, but that's not Ben. Ben McKenzie's a clean cut, young, in shape guy.
Right.
That was most recently on. I think it was on TBS or TNT, a show called Southland.
Okay.
It was a cop show. He was on that. I never watched it because I've never really liked any of those shows on TNT, but. He was in the OC for a while. He did some DC voice acting as of late, and I think maybe that's where they knew him from. But he's been cast as Gordon. That's happened. A couple of small things. Preacher now official. AMC actually ordered the pilot, so Preacher will be coming to AMC.
Preacher is happening.
Coming soon with the really crazy combination of Seth Rogen
What?
Seth Rogen is the executive producer on it. He and his writing partner Evan Goldberg. Seth Rogen said for 7 years that him and his team have been trying to bring Preacher to AMC. Apparently, they took a flyer on the rights to it a while ago, and then one of the producers from Breaking Bad is going to serve as the showrunner and the other executive producer on the show. But yeah, that's crazy that it's been.
That's fucking awesome.
It's a real crazy team that's behind the show. But yeah, they're going to be Rogan and his writing partner are going to serve as executive producers. So that's pretty badass. Then a small thing I heard about the Constantine show. I didn't write down the guy's name because I didn't think I would say it, but it just came back to mind. Is the guy who directed probably the second most famous, maybe the best episode of Game of Thrones, the Blackwater, the Battle for Blackwater Bay, which was a great episode. He's going to be directing the pilot for the Constantine show on NBC, so that's pretty badass. He's very good. He's also directed a movie too, so which is the way HBO goes about it, and that's exciting news for DC.
Really cool.
Sheltered, an Image book, which is decent. I bought the first 3 issues of it and read through. I didn't love it. The basic premise of it is it's the beginning of the end of the world. Like there's some sort of end of the world scenario that I didn't read long enough to get into. And Sheltered is they're sheltering themselves in. The people are trying to lock themselves in to avoid the apocalypse. And all I really got through in the first couple of issues was that there were some grown-ups and some kids, and they were kind of prepared, they're like gun nuts and stuff, but somehow all the adults were dead, so it's just like the teenagers were all that were left. But it's apparently a good enough idea to where somebody's locked it in and bought the rights. I think they're going to make a movie out of it, actually, so more comics, write a comic, get a movie deal. It's the way to go. Let's see, some bigger news for movies. Let's see, we'll start out with Paul Bettany has been cast to play the Vision. Who the fuck would have thought ever, before a couple years ago, the Vision's going to be in a movie? Well, fucking everybody's going to be in a movie. I know the Vision's been an important character before in comics.
Oh, yeah.
But
he's a very important Avenger. He's one of my favorite, actually.
Yeah, but he's definitely like a C-list at best character.
Sure.
And now he's going to play a big role in this movie. It's just nuts. Back when they announced Spider-Man was happening, you were like, we may never see Venom. It may not happen, and now it's like, Vision, everybody's going to end up being all these movies. But, it seems like the story is pretty easy to figure out to me.
Considering
Paul
he's
Bettany's
the same guy who voices Jarvis.
He's voice of Jarvis, and now we know that Robert Downey Jr. is playing the actual, Ant-Man role. Like, it's very obvious he's going to be the one that creates Ultron. So, it seems very obvious that Jarvis is going to be part of the deal. It's going to be part of the reason that Ultron also comes to pass. So that's you can put the puzzle together and what the main plot of the movie is going to be there.
Yeah, very
but
clearly.
That makes sense. It makes sense if they're going to do it that way. That's the way they would do it.
Sure, I'm fine with that.
It's clever, but that's happening. One of my weird reactions, I saw a bunch of people saying, great, this is going to make this movie way better. Paul Bettany's as the Vision. And it seemed like a lot of people didn't put that together. Even people that are like respected people. Like, if this surprises you, you're acting surprised to try to get clicks. Like it's clickbait. Because it's not surprising to anyone ever. No one is shocked at all. If you're like, the Vision's going to be the movie, it's like, that's a little weird. But the minute you say the Vision's in the movie, you go, no, it's Paul Bettany. It's got to be. It's got to be voice of Jarvis. I know the rest of the plot of this movie. It has to be him. So, nice word. I really hate internet journalism. I've come to figure that out. Don't mind a 10-second rant.
No,
I just hate it.
Go ahead. It's your show, man.
Well, everything's just clickbait. It's just, everything is. Like, people... it actually makes me mad when it's like the news because, like, CNN will run a headline that's just not true to get you to click on something, and then when you get the story, it's like, oh, like your whole article is about how this isn't true. When it's just irresponsible because there's so many idiots out there that just see the Yahoo headline of so-and-so, blah, 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 and then you're like, oh, that guy's a piece of shit. It's like, nah, the article talks about how that was a rumor and it's not true, but, they irresponsibly want to get you upset and to click on it, so they give you these dumb things. Well, comics are way worse about it. It's just, in the grand scheme of things, comics don't fucking matter, so it's not as big of a reason to get upset because when, CNN or Yahoo or somebody does it, it's to try to tell you someone's like a murderer or a racist or a rapist when they're not. When in comics, it's just like things that are supposed to happen in movies that they immediately tell you aren't going to happen.
Right.
But they're all annoying. And stuff like this, too. Like, you can never guess Paul Bettany is the Vision. And it's like, I guessed. We all guessed. But just try to get you. But anyways, that happened. So much movie news. This isn't the biggest news, but I know what I'm saving for last because it is the most disturbing news to me. See, a little bit of Man of Steel news, which is pretty awesome. Or some of it's awesome. It's actually just more of who the fuck knows. But The Rock has basically confirmed he's going to play John Stewart Green Lantern. We know for sure he's going to be the next movie. He had met with Warner's and he tweeted out people asking when he was going to film, and he's like, I'll be filming something with them 2014. They're only making one fucking movie in 2014, so he's got to be in the Man of Steel sequel. And he when he was working out, he hashtagged hashtagged about how John Stewart could kick Superman's ass. So it's a pretty simple puzzle to put together. He's going to play John Stewart. That's badass news.
No, that's the biggest. Like some of the best casting news I've heard.
That's great news, yeah.
That's so awesome.
Because you immediately are like, that last Green Lantern movie didn't make any money. How are they going to be able to spin off and do another solo Green Lantern movie? Well, The Rock's in it, so they will.
The franchise rescuer.
Yeah, so he's going to do it. And then also a little bit more confusing from the thing is, which I don't know about this. I don't like this actor, but I give it the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he'll be good in the movies Lex Luthor. He just, to me, as just a civilian who likes movies, overacts his movies a lot, and it just kind of annoys me. But Jesse Eisenberg picked to play Lex Luthor. Hearing about his character in the movie, I do like that. I like the way they've gone about it because, it makes sense, like in a modern world, how he's just a young, really smart, kind of tech genius guy who came from not having any money and is going to, end up running LexCorp. I guess we'll see how it's rewritten, but part of the old script got leaked out. And there was like a scene with him and talked about him. And it talked about how he's like kind of like from the street, how he grew up like tough, like he didn't grow up with any money or anything like that, and was just so smart that, he immediately became really, rich, which of course goes against, classic Luthor, growing up as a rich kid, and he was going to have like tattoos and stuff, which I don't know if that's actually going to end up being in the movie. That could be one of the big reasons they're rewriting the whole thing, but, I do like the idea. I see where they're going with him being just the up-and-coming kind of tech genius guy who's, so super smart. And of course, so like he's bald, like that's, for some reason people are like, he's got hair, and it's like, you can't shave his head? Like, that was
really?
one.
Yeah,
that was one of the weird things. Like when people were talking about who could play Lex Luthor, it's like
like
people.
Bryan Cranston could because I know he looks cool bald.
Yeah, which I think he would have been a great choice, but yeah, it's limited to only people that you've seen with shaved heads. That's what it is. So, yeah, Bryan Cranston fucking has hair most of the time, assholes, but yeah, so I did see a bunch of people like that. It's like, he's got curly hair. And it's like, well, yes, in Metropolis they don't have razors, so I guess I'll just have to have it. But that's an interesting casting. Like, that's pretty totally different than anyone who'd been mentioned or basically anything. I was really hopeful. Joaquin Phoenix was, I guess, turns out was too good to be true because they were saying about how he didn't really want to do it, but they might be able to talk him into it. Apparently they couldn't talk him into it because he seemed like absolutely perfect. But, it's a different way to go with it. But we'll see. There's so many people in this movie at this point that it's just like, who the fuck knows who's gonna be good?
Yeah.
It's just who knows. But that was a pretty big casting news, which is out of nowhere. And then the last bit of movie news, which I'm pretty open about this stuff. Like Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four at this point seems like they're really trying way too hard just to make the movie totally different. If you've learned anything from Marvel and how successful the Marvel Studios movies have been, it's the closer you get to the comic, the better they're doing. Because not only do your regular people like it, but all of the comic book people there's this weird idea, people that like comics are going to see these movies no matter what.
Like,
So
not
no,
really.
if they see them and they don't like them, it pisses them off and they stop going to them. It's the same thing about how wrestling people, you went down from, like, the people that were wrestling people when we were teenagers, most of them don't pay money for wrestling or watch it on TV anymore. They've had to just get a whole new crowd of people for the most part.
Yep.
And that's, the way I think it would go with comics. But Marvel has done a smart thing and been like, we'll make movies everybody like, but we'll embrace like all the things from the books and we'll give you lots of things that if you read the comics, you'll be like, thank you, that was for me. Well, the Fantastic Four, all the casting news seems totally like they don't want to be that at all. And some things fine. They said they're going to make Johnny Storm and maybe Michael B. Jordan, who's a really good actor. He's great. And he's, Johnny Storm's going to be black. That's fine.
Yeah, we've gone on record saying that, like, not that anybody gives a fuck, but that it doesn't bother us.
And it doesn't even really change his character because Johnny Storm's, that's like his race. There are characters that their race would change them a lot, and if you say that they're not, you're lying to yourself. Because if Bruce Wayne would have grown up as a black kid, he would have a lot of different troubles and different motivations, because that's just the world. And so, like I said, denying it just, I think, makes you a fool. It's wishful thinking. But like a character like Johnny Storm, doesn't seem like it would change him at all to me. And then, Sue Storm, if you're going to make her black, that's fine. If she's going to be white, and you say, well, it's just her stepbrother, or they're adopted, or whatever they said they're going to do, that's fine. That's 100% whatever.
Yeah, you can't, that's not really changing.
No, but then here's some news that I first heard that I was like, well, this is dumb, was that they're going to change Ben Grimm to where he's not going to be Ben Grimm looking, basically. He's just going to be like it's not going to be, I guess once he becomes the Thing, it'll be fine, but they were going to just cast like a really clean-cut looking, guy, because they want teenagers to like this movie. That's a big thing that I've heard, is they're really going for like the Twilight audience and stuff, which all this stuff could be totally untrue and just be bad rumors, but that's the big rumor in it. So they're going to cast more of just a clean-cut, little skinny abbed up guy to play Ben Grimm, which I was like, well, once he becomes the Thing, I guess it doesn't matter, but that's kind of dumb. But the worst thing, and I guess, and this is fine, and you can say whatever, but this is enough to where I just wouldn't be interested in the movie, is they're going to make, the rumor they're going to make Doctor Doom a woman.
Yeah, no, it's stupid.
I mean, that's just,
it's terrible. You want a woman villain, cast another woman villain. Create another character. There's plenty of great female villains in the Marvel Pantheon. Use one of them. Medusa from the Inhumans. And you want to do something different, then do something different. But I mean, that's just for anyone who's like loved the Fantastic Four for years. I mean, that's just dumb. That's a slap in the face. Like, that's just not the character. No, it just shits on. Yeah, it shits on everybody. It would be one thing. Okay, it would be one thing if there had been a Heath Ledger or a Jack Nicholson type performance of someone that had played Doctor Doom, that they did it so fucking well that you're saying, well, can't really try to top that, so let's go in a different direction. Well, it hasn't been done. Like, people who love Doctor Doom, and there are a lot of them, are still waiting on that perfect portrayal, and now you're seeing this movie and you're not going to get it.
Yeah, before these movies were made, before, like, Avengers and all this, and now really, like, whoever, like, has been on screen, the most recent is the top villain. I mean, Loki was not in the top 10 to 15 Marvel villains, and now might be the most famous one. Like, before that, Doctor Doom is in your top, like, 3 or 4 Marvel villains. It's like, people that, if you really like comics, or if you just are kind of a passerby, him, Magneto. There's a couple people that are just, like, your top tier Marvel villains. He's one of them. So, I mean, it would be the same thing, like, now Captain America's a chick. That's the way that I feel with them saying Doctor Doom is going to be that. It's just completely changing the character, and it doesn't seem like for any good reason. It's just so they can be like, oh, look, we're progressive. We've changed it all. We've changed every one of these characters from what they were.
It's
this
like
is the
Ian
new
Reed
generation.
Scientific peers, and there's that competing for Sue's affection, and there's all of this different stuff in the origin.
Yeah.
And not to mention just Doctor Doom's own origin of the Monarch of Latveria and all these things. Like, it's just, you're just shitting all over it. Like, I don't care if you change a character's gender, race, whatever, in a situation where it's meaningless. Like, even though they're going to be bringing in Jimmy Olsen allegedly into the Man of Steel franchise, and Jenny Olsen was not meant to be a replacement. If it was, I'd have been fine with that.
Yeah, because that's a character that, in the grand scheme of things, is just a supporting Superman character. And, I mean, it obviously changes, like, that character, but it doesn't change, like, the main story. Like, it doesn't change Superman's, like, story and what he's about that much.
No, it doesn't change the dynamic and the reason that the Jimmy Olsen character exists.
Dr. Doom is their main villain. It'd be like making the Joker a chick. Like, it just completely changes, like, a lot of the Fantastic Four story, if that's what you're going to go with. And like I said, it just seems like stunt casting to me. It seems like, at this point, they've, like, the people making Fantastic Four have just decided like this is going to be the shield we put up. Like the way we're going to try to sell this to you is like we've changed. Like we're changing these people. Like this is a superhero movie for the new century, and we're so fucking progressive because we've changed all of the fucking characters as much as we can. I can't wait to see if they're fucking all wearing just dumb suits because this all leads me to believe they're gonna have dumb suits. But yeah, that seems what they're doing. I mean, it's already too. I mean, they're taking them back to being kids. Like that's Reed Richards is gonna be like 18 or 19. Like I'm already like, I don't know about that. The more and more I hear about this movie, the more I think it's gonna be the fucking worst. Like if there's a chick Doctor Doom, I can't see. I won't go to the theater to see the movie. I'll wait till it comes out. And if people tell me, oh, it's just fucking great, it'll still be hard for me to like enjoy it as much as I would because I'm like, even if the movie is great, it's gonna be like, this is great, man, but this is not. This isn't the Fantastic Four.
Yeah,
this is something, but it's not them.
Yeah.
Love, Why didn't you just make something different if that's what you were gonna go with it? If that's what you're gonna do. But anyways, off of that, we'll see. This is a good test if we have any listeners. If you if this makes you angry, at the Great Muji on Twitter.
Yes, at Dragon3Text. Let us know.
Let us know
your thoughts. Are we just being misogynistic assholes?
Yeah.
We don't think so.
Yeah,
I mean, we really think that it just changes the fucking character, and that's why we don't like it.
Give us your opinion. I mean, I've always heard, though, like, here's my question to all this, and I think this is the true test of, like, if you're a misogynist. So, I mean, I don't think it's misogynist. It's wanting the characters to be, like, who you know. And like I said, you're kidding yourself and living yourself in a fantasy world if your gender doesn't play a part in who you are. That's ridiculous.
No, and even with
if a girl's Batman, not Batman. The question to ask yourself: if they cast Ben Affleck as Wonder Woman, would you be totally fine with it, or would you be like, "What the fuck is this?" And if you wouldn't be totally fine with it, then me getting mad that Doctor Doom's not a dude is the same thing.
Yeah, it's just, and like I said before, had he already been given what he deserves as far as being in a movie and like being that character that transcended media a little bit more, then I would be even more okay with it. But like you have yet to give us the Doctor Doom that we want to see. So until you do that, don't worry about fucking around with experimental shit. Just give us the Doctor Doom we want to see. And then later on, you'll get a pass if you want to fuck off with it.
Just take the Marvel Studios method. The closer to the comic it is, the more people are going to like it. So why would you not make it as close to the comics as possible? But anyways, moving on to some better news. Big news. Too bad Todd's not here to share in the joy of this, but Todd's most favorite of all time, John Romita Jr., gonna be drawing soups, as you heard on Getchyapulls. A real long time. If I listened to the episodes after we did these, and I might know which one.
It was about 6 months ago.
It was a while ago. It was months and months ago. I know it was at least Halloween. It was at least no later than Halloween, maybe pre-Halloween, probably even before then. Basically, the minute that like they were talking about John Romita Jr. being let go from Marvel, I mean, I put together with helps of online clues. I saw an interview with him that was like, "Yeah, I'm going to be doing something with Jeff Johns," and then just by thinking about like what would Jeff Johns possibly be doing, it's like all these Bat books. It's like if you're bringing Romita over, he's going to do something giant, and it's not going to be doing the Bat books because they're all kind of, there's already good Bat books. Like what's struggling? Superman was struggling then, so it's like, well, that makes sense. He's either doing Batman or Superman, so it's got to be Superman. And it is. I thought maybe he would be on Superman Unchained because that's, kind of the all-star team book with Snyder and Jim Lee, but that's just ending after their arc. I remember when they originally announced it, they said it was just going to be like 10 issues, and then they said, well, maybe it'll be ongoing, and then now they're going back saying it's actually just going to be 9 and it'll be over. But they'll be taking over Superman Monthly, which I got the first few issues of, like later after they came out, read them, and was like, I fucking would never buy one of these again. So, that's good. I'll buy it. Happy.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, you've got one of the best artists of all time, arguably one of the best writers of all time.
Yeah, there's only a few like living legend artists now that actually do monthly books. I mean, there's a few guys that are really old and barely draw anymore that happen to still be alive, but there's only a few working guys who are real legends of art, and he's one of them, so that's really badass. He's going to be doing Superman. I'm happy Action Comics, which review later, has been great as of late. Superman Unchained has been really good. it's almost sacrilegious to say I love Snyder so much, but I mean, Greg Pak's Action Comics has been better than Snyder's Superman Unchained. I'm just gonna say it, but
Yeah, that.
Superman Unchained has been good, but it's got a little tedious. We'll see how it wraps up because with the wake, like I was liking it, but I was also like, this is pretty good. And then at issue 5, you're just like, it's so
Snyder
great.
really knows how to throw the curveballs and take you on a whole different journey, and
Yeah,
that could happen. But I think Greg Pak has been awesome on Action Comics. I think he's got the voice down for Superman that
Yeah.
we've really been missing this whole time in the whole New 52. And it's really been, like, so many of the singles books have been stellar in the New 52. I mean, you talk
Yeah.
about Batman, The Flash, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, like all those titles.
there's never been a good
outstanding.
run on Superman yet.
But Superman has struggled, and it shouldn't have been that way. So I'm happy to see that
Yeah.
this is happening. I mean, Jeff Johns has his critics. I mean, he's certainly not
Yeah.
universally loved, but he's universally loved by me for the most
I mean, he's
part.
good, man. It's really, he's like Bendis. Like, there's some people who've been reading comics for so long and just have kind of grudges to certain people because a lot of people don't like Bendis, and I could never understand that as a person who just jumped into comics a couple of years ago now, which is hard to think. It's been like 2 years now since we started doing this shit. Like, he's great. Like, I couldn't understand people not liking him, but there are people, and it's the same with Jeff Johns. Like, I haven't read anything by him. Jeff Johns goes from, his writing is from good to great. Like, he always falls
Yeah,
that
I mean,
line.
they write to the bigger common denominator. They're not as, like, intricate
Yeah.
as guys like Remender or Rucka or Brubaker,
Yeah.
But, like, they definitely, or even like Matt Fraction in particular,
Yeah. And
they write
yeah.
to the bigger audience.
Yeah, not saying it as like a slight, but they write like your summer blockbusters.
Yeah.
But the very best ones.
Absolutely.
It's like, yeah, like Brubaker, or I guess Snyder might be the best example. Snyder might be writing The Dark Knight, something that's intricate and everyone loves. But, Brubaker and all those guys, like, those guys are writing, Brubaker's writing the comics equivalent of Academy Award winning movies. But Jeff Johns is bringing you fucking Independence Day.
Yeah.
That's the way things go. But yeah, he's great. That's spectacular. I'm sure that's another great for DC. That'll be another book that sells like crazy that they'll make a shit ton of money on. So whatever they're paying Ramita, I'm sure isn't enough because Superman is one of those titles they'll sell it all and keeps falling. And now, it's smart. It'll be an automatic, 6-digit sales thing right off the bat. So that rules. And the last bit of news, breaking today, I saw just right before I came over here, Dark Horse lost the Star Wars license, and that was like one of their major licenses. People were wondering what they might do to replace it. Well, they've got a license with Nintendo, which is a pretty big deal.
Oh, shit.
Nintendo has just over the years kind of sparingly let people use certain characters, but Dark Horse apparently has a big deal with them where they're going to be able to use like a lot of the Nintendo characters. And I mean, that's the thing. Like, I don't really read a lot of books like that, but there are a lot of books based on video games.
There's an audience like that.
And TV
like
shows and everything
man.
that love everything, So, I mean, I'm sure if all of a sudden you're doing like a Zelda comic or, Mario stuff,
Zelda, Mario,
those are going to sell.
There's a big audience for that. Yeah, that's a big deal for them.
So that's a pretty great thing for them to be able to replace. Because, they have had some books I've liked. I like The Massive. I stopped getting it just for pull list reasons, but it was a good book that they do. Dark Horse has had some good books, so it's nice to see that, that's a giant license for them to continue to put out good stuff.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, that's it for the news.
Dum-ba-ba-dum.
So,
Can we go back to the long box? I've read a fucking ton of shit. Most of it has been Muji stuff that he probably already reviewed on the show. I mean, I'm trying to think. There were probably a couple of things that weren't, but
yeah, you never know.
for the most part, I didn't read some of that. Some of the Dwayne Straczynski Cable run.
Cable.
That our good friend Andrew Alexander let us borrow.
I got him reading DC now, by the way.
Yes.
He's a big pro. I guess because when I was a kid, I didn't get giant into comics. I just kind of bought whatever for the couple years I read. But, it's a apparently very popular thing to pick teams.
To be a loyalist,
There's a lot of people that like Marvel. They're just like, fuck DC, but he's always been like that. But I gave him that first Court of Owls, and I only gave him the one. I gave him
and
little
he lost
testers.
his shit. I know. He
Yeah.
texted me in the week. Is there a volume 2? Is there a volume 2?
Yeah, I was like,
yes,
I
there's
got
a volume 2
yes,
and a volume
yeah. It's
3.
like I got volume 2 and 3. He's like, why didn't you send them? And I was like, oh, because you shit talk DC, so I had to make sure you liked it first. So he liked it. He liked the Justice League. He liked Aquaman pretty good. He said he really liked Batman and the Justice League. So I sent him some more volumes of stuff coming up. We'll see. I might give him some Wonder Woman. We'll see. I don't know how. I don't know how. I don't know how I'll take it. We'll see. I gave him some Hawkeye and he liked it. You know, you got to judge like what people like. So I told him like after he reads those, he can graduate into big boy status, and I'll give him that first Criminal, so I can see what kind of see if he likes that. It's like see if he gets some comic respect from me if he likes that Criminal.
Some fucking indie cred.
Yeah, see if he gets some indie cred. But yeah. I know you read that second volume of Criminal, which is always awesome.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, we can talk about that as just a general back to the long box here for a minute before we get into the pulls. Yeah, dude, Criminal, that was just magnificent. That book is so twisted and fucked up and awesome.
Yeah, it's so great. And it's great how it's all connected, how in each chapter all the characters connect somebody from the last chapter.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about it a couple of times before on here, but yeah, I went back and I had gotten the first and then got the second omnibus, so those are very affordable too, man. If you want to catch up on that stuff, like great for your money.
Image books are cheap, dude.
Especially if you go on cheapgraphicnovels.com. That's you got to pay shipping. It's $5.99 all you can ship. So you know now that like in our state, Amazon charges tax and stuff, so it's honestly like getting to the point to where even having to pay shipping, the cheap graphic novels still they're always a few bucks. You know, you might be able to find something on sale somewhere that's cheaper, but in general, they're a few bucks cheaper than everybody else. Like if you pre-order books or order it within the first couple weeks, it's usually 50% off whatever the cover is. So you know these image books are $14.99, you get for $7.50 on there, so that's pretty impossible to beat. And then they just go down to 45% like after that, so you're still getting a great deal. They don't make you pay any more until things get scarce at a certain point. You know, they'll drop it down to where you get 30% or something, but it's usually 45% off. So those Criminals, I believe both of them had $34.99 cover prices, and because I got them a little late, they were, you know, like $20 a piece, man. So about $40 will get you the whole 6 volumes of Criminal. And they're nice too, man. They put out those, like a lot of those, it's the big, which I heard Brubaker was one of the first people to get this going and make it popular, but it's the bigger editions of the books. They put out like the big deluxe edition, so the art's a little bit bigger, so you get to see the fucking awesome Shaun Phillips artwork.
Larger.
Like, yeah, even in a larger format. So those are great deals.
Yeah, it's essentially just like it's crime noir short stories, written in that Ed Brubaker fashion. He's the king of the crime noir and the hard-boiled detective type stories. This is really focusing on the underworld element, just, you know, people getting themselves in desperate and stupid situations. And
yeah, it all goes through the one little bar there. What is it in there? Is it the Undertow, or is that
yes,
Batman?
it is.
Yeah, it's the Undertow. Yeah, so everybody, there's all these different people. Like I said, they all intercept each other as the book goes on. They've all, you know, they're all in the same little world. I heard he's going to do more of those. He said eventually he's got an idea for a couple more. But, you know, it's him. And if you read like Fatale, I mean, it's the same style, only, you know, Fatale, he's put, you know, extra elements. He's put some horror in there. So it's, it's great. Brubaker and Phillips are one of out of the people currently working in comics, they may have put out the most good stuff together more than anybody else.
Quite possibly. Well,
yeah.
We went back to the long box. Now it's time to get our pulls. What company are we starting with this week?
I'm super indie-tastic. I guess start with DC.
Okay.
Marvel free again, as it just keeps happening.
I got several.
Yeah, so we'll do DC, then we'll see. We'll do DC first, though. Didn't get Green Arrow, man, but I got spoiled. There's big happenings this week in Green Arrow in the book, and I haven't got it, so it sucks.
Yeah, that really does suck.
Only time I've ever been shorted Green Arrow at the comic book store, and there's apparently a giant event in it, but we'll wait till we read it and talk about it. But anyways, I got a couple. I got Detective number 28, Gothtopia, second chapter of that within the Detective Comics. I like this issue better than the first. The first one was okay, but like you read so deep into it. The Gothtopia part, but Detective 27 was awesome. There was a bunch of great stories, but just the one that pertains to this book, Gothtopia. You know, at first it's like, it's the same old Batman. Somebody drugged him. He's got to figure out whatever. But this one was a little bit better. You kind of get to the point, like they're not. The first one felt like it was trying to trick you. This one really does it. Like you're keenly aware Batman's just drugged, and he knows he's drugged, so he's trying to figure out like what's real and what's not real. And it was a good issue. Layman's on his way out. This is one of his last few issues of the book. This is his final story.
Finishing
So
up his
yeah,
stuff.
but it was good. Then over to Action Comics 28. It was badass. It's Greg Pak, Aaron Cooter doing such a great job. Pak writes some great. And Aaron Cooter does great artwork, man. Like his artwork and then the colors in the book really go together to like give you just the feeling of like it's just more of a fun book. It's not like fun to the point like I don't think every comic should be fun. There are people out there that think that every comic should be able to be picked up by a 6-year-old. They should enjoy it the same as a 26-year-old, and I don't think that's true at all. But I do like this is my definition of an all ages book, to where no matter what age you were, like if you read this to your kid, they would like it, and then you'll like it as an adult. Like that's what I think. It's not a kid's book, or it's not too gritty for kids.
It's not extreme.
It's perfect. Yeah, it's not like Superman Family Adventures where you get it, you're like, oh, that's cute, but it's really more like you can't get as much out of it as you could have a story like this. But I think this is perfect. But it was really good. Like I said, I wanted to give it's Will Quintana does the colors. And he does a great job. Superman just looks inviting in this book. It's a big book. It's much like Superman and Wonder Woman. It's like the things that happen in here are gigantic. Like there's Superman problems that only you can imagine Superman dealing with. Like Batman, if he was doing this, would just be like, I'm in a fucking alien world underground. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, right.
But it works for Superman. Love that they brought Lana Lang into the mix and made her pretty awesome. They made her very different from the way she's been in like a lot of books in the past. But she's awesome in here, so it's good to see her, an intricate Superman character, getting back in his world. So that's badass. And it's a really good big issue. It really sets up nicely for the next issue. You get to see a bunch of great stuff underground, which is awesome. And then, like I said, the art in it's fantastic, man. There's a couple of great pages where they're fighting these big monsters underground that just look awesome. So, can't recommend that enough. Finally, Action Comics in good hands. Don't interfere, editorial. Let's let Greg Pak keep writing this son bitch. But
very glad to see that, like we were talking about. They desperately needed a Superman makeover, and it looks like between that and Jeff Johns, the Man of Steel is in great hands right now.
Yeah.
Well, I had a hell of a DC haul over the last couple of weeks. Actually, we'll start outside the New 52 for the Smallville Season 11 Special number 4. The Smallville universe continues. This was another annual style issue called Titans. And not about Superman himself, but actually the Smallville version of the Teen Titans. And it was pretty cool.
Nice.
It's using all characters that have been introduced in the show or the comic later on in this continuity that all shares here. You get Connor Kent, Superboy, of course, he was in the show towards the end, as well as the Blue Beetle. And Artemis, the female protege of the Green Arrow, and the Wonder Twins, they were all in the show. And they're led by the Flash Jay Garrick, who was mentioned in the show but never actually made a physical appearance other than in flashbacks. And then also on the team is the Martian Manhunter's niece, who was debuted in the Smallville comic continuity and actually another Smallville special. Megan, who was very popular on the Young Justice show.
Megan?
And in the yes, Sean Jones and Megan.
Thank you.
And guess what her civilian name is?
Megan Jones?
There you go. Hey.
Of course.
Take a wild guess. It was a lot of fun, and it was just a self-contained story about this little team coming together. I can imagine they're going to be involved in an upcoming arc of the Smallville, because this was just sort of introducing them as a team.
Let you know they're out there.
How they work together and how they agree to disagree and yada, yada, yada.
So the Teen Titans are at least alive in some continuity.
Sure. That's right. Teen Titans were canceled in the modern continuity. Probably coming back, but...
Thanks, lobby.
We'll go to the New 52. Start with last week's books. We had The Flash, number 27, and Aquaman 27. The Flash 27 was Brian Bucceletto's final send-off to the book before the new creative team takes over. And it was a lot of fun. It was just a one-off issue with the Flash taking down a singular threat. And it had a lot to do with his dad and kind of clearing his dad's name for murdering his mom. And
Where's my dad?
It was a fun little issue, and like I said, just nice to see Brian Buccellato getting to say goodbye, also doing that Rogues Rebellion miniseries before we move along to the next wave. These are sort of filler issues because really they blew off the main Flash story.
Right, and I was pretty sure before they'd announced their run was going to end like before it has.
Yeah.
So it seems like they got to a point where they're like, we got somebody new coming in, but can you do a couple more? And it's like, okay.
Yeah, they seem to just be little one-off issues to reestablish some of the Flash's abilities and the things that are going on. They've been nice because they keep like the little ties that this universe has kept going the whole time. Moving forward for the new writer is going to be Robert Venditti. That's going to be cool. And Jeff Parker's doing still a admirable job here on his second issue of Aquaman.
Nice. And Venditti's going to have Flash and Green Lantern. That's pretty big.
And two characters that share a lot of history and teamwork together.
Two buds.
Could see a lot of crossovers there, I'd imagine. And this Aquaman's still fighting that same sea monster he was fighting in the last issue.
Nice.
He finally takes it down after a hell of a battle, and even after he's dead, he can still feel his presence when he reaches out to it telepathically. He finds out that it's trying to destroy everything, so he has no choice. He has to kill it.
I wonder if Aquaman has ever fought Loch Ness. I know Loch Ness is in a lake, but I'm sure he does lakes.
I'd say quite possibly.
If not, somebody get on that.
Well, if he's been to Scotland, I mean, I don't know, but
he goes for swims.
There was a big hint dropped in this issue that him and Mira are about to head back to the surface world for a while. They're kind of tired of dealing with the Atlantean bullshit problems. Not the sea monsters being the least of them. More of the political headaches and everything.
That would be cool. Them living on the world. I liked. That's one of my favorite issues when Mira went to buy dog food.
Yeah, they talked about making a trip back up to Maine for a while, so it's like we might get some Aquaman out of Atlantis, as Jeff Johns' stuff was really focusing hardcore on that, and it's waiting for them when they get back. So
yeah,
it's and it's like nothing majorly. Of course, he killed this monster.
Who's going to be in charge? He's going to have to walk up to someone and tell them, I'm a number one guy.
Yeah, who will it be? Is this where the new Aqua Lad might rise?
Or Ocean Bob.
Don't discount Ocean Bob. You can never count him out.
You know what I read about that dude? Quick tangent from Batman. I always wondered about that guy. I was like...
Bob the Goon?
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck is Bob the Goon? Like, who is this guy? He was just some guy Nicholson knew, one of his friends. It makes total sense.
Bob Gunn.
This is my friend Bob. We'll call the character Bob. Sure, Jack.
And moving along to this week's stuff. Robert Venditti, Billy Tan, Rob Hunter, Green Lantern Flip Book Edition, Green Lantern and Red Lantern number 28 in
Two stories
issue.
for one.
One sweet price of $2.99, but you get a big fat double issue.
For you, who gets Green Lantern all the time, you get your free Charlie Soule comic.
I did.
One of comics' top up and comers.
And the great thing about it is this is how you do a crossover, ladies and gentlemen. 2-part crossover, one issue, parts 1 and 2 of the story, self-contained right here.
Nice.
So you have a nice crossover with the Red Lantern. You get a nice 2-part story. You paid $3 for it. And Supergirl is a fucking raging Red Lantern, and they don't know how to stop her awesome hormones. So it's pretty outstanding. Yeah, fucking definitely a high recommendation on that. If you can find any more on the shelves, go pick you up a Green Lantern Flip Book Edition, because for the price you can't beat the value, man. You really can't.
Nice.
Great story and a lot of bang for your buck. And then the DC pick of the week for me was Forever Evil number 5.
So evil.
And I don't want to spoil too much because Muji's about to take this and read it, but we'll say
I'm going to read the shit out of it.
Lex Luthor's team and the crime syndicate goons finally cross paths. We saw Sinestro show back up in the last issue, And let's just say that he's not fucking happy with the crime syndicate and their bullshit, and he's gonna let one of them fucking know it, and by the end of the issue, one of their asses ain't getting out of it because of Sinestro. And so
Nice.
that plus Batman and Catwoman trying to get along with Luthor and his goons.
Did we ever find anything out about Dick Grayson?
His final fate will be revealed in the next issue. That's all that we know. That they kind of mention him in passing, but he's not, they don't show you where he's at. They just talk about him.
Well, cool.
That's all.
Is it for DC's?
Yeah.
I guess I'll jump over to Indies. It's Vertigo. Is it Indies at DC? I don't know. Today it's Indie.
If it's creator owned, it's indie to us.
Yes.
Just for the
That's
simplicity.
it. We're jumping to creator owned books. I got Trillium, number 6 by Jeff Lemire. It was cool. Seemed like a billion years since number 5 came out. I had to think for a second at the beginning of this issue to be like, what the fuck's been happening? But it was good. A couple more issues left. We'll see how they're going to wrap this thing up because it's been kind of in a bit of a holding pattern the past few issues. So I wonder what's going to happen there. Over to some Image books. Spoiler alert, they're all badass. Starting out with Revival, number 17. Staying good. And I saw kind of a ripoff. There's a new show coming on, I think ABC, called Resurrection, where a bunch of people's dead family members started showing back up. They don't know why. Seems like somebody could get sued. It seems like someone could get sued.
Yeah, that's bullshit, man.
Yeah, it seems like they were just like, well, why do we have to pay for this? Why don't we just go ahead and make this a shitty version of a show, I'm sure. I can't remember where it's on. I think it's ABC. If it's ABC, it's going to fucking suck because that's all they do. But if it's on anywhere else, then it might survive. Another great issue, you get some flashbacks and some of the characters when they're a little bit younger, and you also get to see a crazy face in it.
Fucking squint faces.
Yeah, you get a guy with a crazy burnt squid face who you find out there's been some crazy things going on in the last few issues, and you get to see who's behind a little bit of it, so that's badass. Recommend Revival. Out of all the Image books that get love, I think Revival doesn't get enough. I think it's right up there. It's one of the great books they do.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. So buy the shit out of it. If you haven't read it already, got the first 11 issues are in a nice big, large format, collected edition hardback. It's awesome. It's only I think it's like $22 for 11 issues in hardback. So grab it. On to Saga number 18, the last one for a while.
Oh, is it now?
It's the 3-month Saga hangover, man, where I think...
it was a pretty eventful issue.
Yeah, I guess this month, I think this month, the trade paperback comes out, because, unlike DC, they shoot these motherfuckers out at Image. Marvel gets them out pretty fast. Image gets them out the next day. They're like, yeah, Saga 18's out, by the way. In 3 hours, we'll have had it in trade.
Here's your trade.
Yeah, but it's the last one for 3 months, so before Saga goes on its regular 3-month hiatus. Yeah, it was awesome. It was very eventful. All the things that have been building finally came to pass. So we got a resolution on, as we saw in the last couple of issues, Prince Robot had shown up.
Got his clock cleaned.
Yeah, he was shooting motherfuckers, but he got his clock cleaned. We also saw Marcos's...
Gwendolyn?
Yes, Gwendolyn, his ex-girlfriend, showed up, and she's not happy. A bunch of people got shot. We had a death, and then they got away. So who the fuck knows what's going to happen in the next one? If you read the notes, which on these Image books too, man, required reading is to read the letter section, because you get so much information on the characters, the stories, and what's happening next. You get to find out that they said that by the time the next one comes out, they're going to be in a much different place. All I can imagine is they're probably going to age up a little bit, which you can see on the last page of the book. You get to see that the baby is no longer a little toddler. She's walking, so
yeah,
that's good.
Love Saga, man. It's
great.
It's not a book like it, really. It's probably the most unique book out there.
It's a great book, and I also feel like it's one of those books that you can only do in comics. Like, I can't imagine a live action version of this being as good. It's not like that with everything, but there are certain things I'm just like, it would be really hard to capture how awesome this book is.
Yeah, it's just so quirky and weird, and I don't think a movie would be able to capture that vibe. And like with comics, so many things is how you read it and interpret it yourself. So
Yeah, by the way, I think I'm gonna have to buy something you can get on essentialsequential.com. Um, Fiona Staples does prints of all the covers of these books. You can either get like a smaller print that's like a nice one, or and I think they're like $20 or 25, or if you've are a little bit more well off, you can get a big for a hundo. You can get a big canvas of it. But the covers of the books, the cover for Saga 18 with Lion Cat with a little bit of blood coming out of the mouth is badass. So even though in real life I hate cats, I don't hate cats. I just much prefer dogs. I may have to buy that to put it up in the room because it's just too badass, and it's only like $20. So I'm like, might have to do it.
Fair enough.
Might have to do it. Maybe one day, by having that, I'll get to bang a smelly girl.
Possibly.
I don't think that's like disrespecting. I said I'd bang them, but no. If I ever move downtown, that might be able to get me some cred with someone.
Yeah.
Oh, nice lion pat pic.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. I know. I'm deep. I bought a poster. I'm deep.
With your dick.
Yes. But anyways. Now, if before you weren't offended, then maybe now that might be a little too much. But another great book, Black Science. Man, it's good.
Yeah, it is. It's
Oh, Remy Remender doing a little bit of sci-fi.
It's very much hard sci-fi.
It's hard sci-fi for sure. But it's good. Kind of what he's been doing with all these issues is you get some backstory and you get some now mixed in. You get to find out why the fuck these guys are trapped in space, and I get to see the world before that. It's great. It's a really good book. It's definitely got the Remender voice in there, but it's also quirky, so it's just different.
Yeah, it's different than his other books for sure.
It's very close to Fear Agent, which I almost finished, which you'll get handed off, and you can take me later for it. But I got the Fear Agent, the first library edition, almost done with it, and yeah, Remender, very talented guy. He can write anything. And then got Lazarus #6, as our comic shop guy likes to call it, or Lazarus, as the rest of the world calls it. Well, Lazarus #6, talking about another great fucking image book, man. This month was no different. You get to find out like a little bit more about the world. You get a little bit more stories about some of the serfs, what's going on with them, some of the poor people. You kind of get to understand the socio-economical outlay of the rest of the land and kind of how everything is. And then you're also getting to see Forever, our heroine, as she's in the first issue. You kind of get the idea she's just kind of like a straight up, almost robotic, and she might be. She's something you still don't know in the book. Like she's kind of a human, but kind of not. But in this one, you can tell like over the last couple of issues, she's kind of growing her own opinions about things, and it's making the book more interesting. So, and the next one looks cool because by the end of the issue, some people set out on a journey. Some of the poor people set out on a journey where they're going to go to like a big city from their farm, and they're all on horses with guns, and they're like, well, it's a really long way. It's like 500 miles, so you're probably going to get to see some badass action fighting. And it's really good. And the letter section in it, you got to read this month. That's all I'll say.
I usually always do on the image books. It's like it's almost you're not getting the full experience of reading comics if you don't read the letters.
Really,
I
read them
pretty
on
much all books.
I read them in Hawkeye because they're also you can't miss the Hawkeye ones. But other than that, it's usually just the image books that I read them in. And especially another good thing about Lazarus is throughout the back of the books, they also give you it's like an encyclopedia on the families. Because in the book, if you haven't read it, there's what you can tell the world so far is basically it's basically like what the world. I won't say dystopian because that makes me think things are shitty because everything's like it's the dystopian future where a 14-year-old boy decides he's gonna blah blah blah. That's like every fucking movie that comes out now, but it's basically the future, the not too distant future where things kind of going to shit, but it's almost like not fantasy. It's almost like something that could happen. It's like things go to shit now. The extremely rich people are living extremely rich, and then everybody else is just shit upon. And so there's certain families that control certain different areas of the country, basically. And then in the back of the books, you get like background on all the families and like what they own and who they are and who all the important people are. I think they also list that there's a Tumblr for Lazarus that has it all in one spot. So when you start reading, you can know who all the characters are before, which is badass. But yeah, it's especially essential. You read back there, you actually get more information about the book.
Yeah, definitely.
That's it for the indies. Onto Marvel.
Yes, we'll wrap it up with Marvel Comics this week. Had several offerings and all pretty good. Captain America number 16 point now, or the Iron Nail Prologue, a decision number 1. So this is the follow-up story to Nuke in the Iron Nail, which we had seen in the previous issues. That they were fighting to try and get Nuke back under control, and that the
Great
Iron
jumping
Nail
on point.
detonated him. Yeah, it's really not a good jumping on point, even though they tried to advertise this is.
Wasn't one of their faux number ones.
It's just Remender's next chapter, which is like, you just need to go and read all of this because it's awesome and it ties together. So this issue in particular is about Jet Black, who has been on Earth for a while since Cap brought her back from Dimension Z. And of course, you know, she's a trained killer raised by Arnim Zola to dominate humans. So this whole new world is different for her, and she doesn't quite understand what's going on, but she's still trying to do right by Cap because he's kind of her hero, and she's going out on patrol and stops a mugging, and she runs into this dude who's familiar with her father, he says, who was a friend of his, and his name was Tsar Sultan, and he belonged to a group called the S-Men. And so, of course, we get a nice Uncanny Avengers moment here.
Yeah, Marvel Nazis.
He, of course, Jet Black meets up with the Skull, and he wants to recruit her.
Of course.
And fucking, we even see a vision that Arnim Zola may still be alive and have transferred his consciousness to something the Red Skull had waiting for him. So
the fucking Red Skull, man. You cannot kill cat people.
No.
And it's just always their consciousness. Like, that's the tried and true. Every time somebody in Cap dies, it's like, I got a body stashed. These guys have motherfucking, like, the Red Skull's like, it's okay. I got 300 bodies stashed across the world. I died.
Well, if you recall, this one wasn't a stashed consciousness. Like, that's what they did with the last time they killed him. But now this time, this Red Skull got brought back from time. He got brought back from, like, 1940 something right before. And he was a clone of the original Red Skull that was placed in stasis. So in his mind, it was like always 1940 something, whatever. So
that needs to be a run somebody has on Cap, where Cap takes a fucking team of Avengers to track down. They find a map, Indiana Jones style, of all the places the Red Skull is hidden, fucking ways to keep himself alive, and just destroy them one after another.
That's actually a pretty good idea, Moochie.
Joe Quesada, I know you like podcasts. I know you're listening.
Trademark Moochie.
Yes. Hire us. Hire us.
But good issue. Remender stuff continues. My God, so much good stuff at Marvel this week. Uncanny Avengers number 16. God, what a great fight between Thor and the Apocalypse twins in this one. This is a really badass issue. Really, like
Remender writes a great Thor too. I hope Jason Aaron's run goes as long as he wants to ride it, but hopefully the day that he quits, Remender picks him up.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, this was just outstanding, and really the battles just continued to rage for like 3 issues. This is like still where Wanda and Rogue and the others died, and they're still finding the bodies out on the battlefield. I mean, this is some brutal shit. Thor really fucking fucked up.
Fucking Remender dead bodies.
Yeah.
Nobody writes a comic with just fucking random dead bodies left over from previous comics more than Remender does.
Always.
One of the worst was that issue of Uncanny X-Force where you go in and they've got Phantom X is hanging on the wall and you're like, damn it, man.
Yeah. That's really fucked up. And so he fucking, Thor gets rid of one of the twins, though the other one's still alive. He like fucking throws him into the sun and burns his arm off in the fucking process. And then his sister with Yarnborn, Thor's axe that caused all of this, is there waiting at the end of the issue with a Celestial ready to fight Thor. So the fight's not even over. I mean, that's how you do it, man. Still great dialogue and story. In 3 issues, they've just been fighting the same battle.
Yeah, nice. I saw a great Thor. It's actually more of a Superman meme. I guess from something I haven't read, a Justice League versus Avengers thing that shows fucking Superman holding Thor's fucking hammer up in the up in the air, so there technically is one other person that can lift that motherfucker up. Soups did it.
If you're worthy.
Soups did it in continuity, motherfuckers.
I can't think of anybody who would have been more worthy.
It's on the books.
And then Guardians of the Galaxy number 11 point now. The Trial of Jean Grey number 1. Actually, a really fun story. I was kind of dreading this because of the dreaded crossover.
I would just like some all new X-Men that weren't in an event. That would be cool. But
yeah, I know. Same here.
Figured out though, I guess whoever edits X-Men gets Guardian. Somehow it's considered in the X family, so it makes sense. They're like, oh, let's put it in a crossover.
That's cool.
But yeah, I thought it was fine.
Yeah, it's just like a fun little event, and this you see more from the Guardians' perspective.
Maybe try to give them a little more rub before the movie comes out, in case you're just reading X-Men.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a nice Skrull beheading in this issue. Some more teaming up with Angela and Gamora and their crazy personalities. And this is where they really learn about the Phoenix and what
Angela.
all they have to...
what are you doing here? Neil Gaiman sent me.
I'm here from another continuity.
Yes.
Well, of course, we find out in All New X-Men, the last issue, Jean had already been abducted by the Shi'ar. So when the Guardians get there, you just kind of see it from their perspective. Like, oh shit, well, we're here to help her, but she's already been taken. So
yeah, it's pretty badass. I don't know how it made me think. I guess with the Angela thing, made me think of... I saw where Todd McFarlane in an interview recently said, which I'm sure this would excite a lot of longtime McFarlane fans, you know, considering he hasn't drawn Spider-Man since when he drew Spider-Man, but he said he would be willing to draw Spider-Man, but only if Marvel would do one for him for a crossover. If he did, he said he was like 100% up for a Spider-Man Spawn 2-part crossover where one part's in Spawn, one part's in Spider-Man, you know, to get the book a go. I'm going to predict we'll probably end up seeing that because they probably have no reason not to want to sell 1 billion issues of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
If all it means is loaning him out for one issue of Spawn.
I would think that's reasonable. I mean, I don't think Marvel's against making money. So.
No, people would be pumped.
Well, my Marvel pick of the week, not a surprise if you followed this podcast, is yet again Thor, God of Thunder, by our boy Jason Aaron, and the art.
Continuously awesome.
The art in this issue, this is a one-off about young Thor from the continuity of the 3 Thors, if you remember back in the first story.
Little Thor, as they call him on the street.
Back when he did not have yet Mjolnir the hammer, but Yarnborn the axe, which he's fighting for over in Uncanny Avengers still. So it all ties together in so many ways. But the art in this, Dan Pastoris, coming on for a one-off issue, just beautiful. I mean, it reminded me of like the classic Arthur Conan Doyle story illustrations for like the old Night Tales and stuff. Just, I don't know, it's just different. It doesn't look like comic book art, you know. It looks like an illustration, and so just very interesting. And you see, really, it's just a story of young Thor like learning a moral lesson about people and what have you. So it was really fantastic, though. I'd highly recommend it.
It's great-ish. I thought about the other day, just ranting about the Thor movies, and I've enjoyed the Thor Marvel movies. The second one way more than the first one, but they're not my favorites. I think like one of the main reasons is just like I would just prefer Jason Aaron's Thor is just so badass. I just wish in the movie that he was that badass. I mean, he's different. He's the Thor that your grandkid can love. I hope one day we'll get to see a movie with the Thor that Jason Aaron writes. That would be so badass.
Yeah, that would be outstanding. I mean, he's a different Thor, you know.
He's just the fucking Viking, like straight up, like like he's the badass. Like I'm drinking fucking beers and going out and fucking being awesome.
Yeah. Bedding whores and drinking beers and smiting foes.
He's the HBO Thor. That's who he is.
that's what he does. And I'm really looking forward to the next arc. I have no idea where they're going. We've seen the Dark Elves. We've seen the God Butcher.
Yeah.
And Jason Aaron's still on the book for the duration right now. So they at least have another couple volumes.
Hope he stays on it for a while, man. Hope he gets as long as on a run on there as he did in Wolverine the X-Men.
Yeah, I can't imagine what's next. I mean, we haven't really seen much of Loki, but he's got his own book that they just launched, so it's
Where
possible.
he's kind of a baby face.
It's possible we'll see him in Thor. I'd say.
Which only makes sense.
But I don't really know what villains. Well, they left some stuff open ended, like that League of Realms stuff didn't really end. It just kind of it ended, but like not to the satisfaction you wanted. Still leaving open doors there because you still had the alliance with Malekith and Alfie from the fucking Frost Giants or Laufey, I mean, from the Frost Giants.
Yeah.
So. You had lots of villain doors that are still open there. I'm excited to see where the book goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I heard Loki, the first issue of it got pretty decent reviews. I may read it at some point. It's also the new Miss Marvel. I have to pick that up at some point. Though off the bat, I'm a little bit annoyed at like the credit being given for just like it's I see. I have a weird question about just the new Miss Marvel. If you haven't paid attention, is basically, I guess, the first Muslim hero that they've had at Marvel before, which everybody's, giving big props to, which is good. I think it's good both for just, you need to represent everybody, and for business, that's a whole group of people that, judging from, like, all the Twitter and Instagram photos of, what appear to be little Muslim girls holding the book is a great thing that they did, but I find it really weird, though. I just think about, like, I'm not religious at all, but, like, everybody, like, applauds them for that, but do you think people would be mad if they had like an openly Christian superhero? Maybe because like I know there are some that you could point to and be like there have been times for sure that there are heroes that are definitely would have been religious based on Cap in old books was definitely he talked about God all the time in old Captain America from back in the day, so but I just find it kind of weird because Muslims and Christians like believe like a lot of the things that would make you mad that they believe are the same. So I just find it weird, like if they had somebody that was like as an example, like that Orson Scott Card guy was gonna write some Superman, and I think he's Mormon, but of course he's like against gay marriage because most people that are that religion are, and they got so much backlash they didn't end up even printing like the book that he wrote, it's Superman stories. But now they've got like a Muslim character where if you're Muslim, you believe that same stuff. It's like underlined. But because like there aren't as many Muslim people like in the United States, it's like a big like celebration. I just think it just makes you think like if there was like a Mormon character or a Christian character, like religions that people around here are like a lot more comfortable and know about, and have grown to hate if you live here and aren't religious. I bet you they would take like actual bad backlash from a lot of people. But they consider open-minded for something that actually believes almost the exact same stuff. I just think it's weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a comment, I guess, really, on that. Comics and politics or... I don't bring those kind of thoughts to the show. So
right.
It's like I wasn't prepared for that fucking discussion, so...
Yeah. It's just weird to me. I'm not religious, so whatever the character is something that I don't believe. I just find it weird. It just seems like a weird... When people were just like so like behind it, I just started thinking about it, and I was like... I just wonder just how mad people would be if like Batman like gave a thank you to like Jesus. People would be like really offended. And Muslims, about the same thing. But
I don't know.
yes, that's something to think about.
It is.
Yes. What you got next week?
Oh, God, I got a big week. Let's see. Fuck. Well, of course, Walking Dead is back finally. We've gotten the twice a month, but we've been off a couple of weeks of Walking Dead, so we actually do have some now.
Nice. I got Batman. The spoiler
Batman.
issue. It's coming. It's a look into the future of Gotham.
Oh shit, that's right. You got a Forever Evil Rogues Rebellion. Deadpool. There's one of them X-Men books.
Some type of X-Men.
Yeah, definitely.
Sweet. Yeah, I don't remember what all I have. I know I've got like 5 or 6. But Batman, Walking Dead, I think Superman and Wonder Woman.
Oh, yeah, you do have Superman, Wonder Woman. I saw that on the list. That was exciting.
So it'll be a good week.
Outstanding.
So yeah, act like you're Todd and go and get your pulls.